I'm Chef Susie with Escoffier Online. Welcome to our live session this morning. Today we are going to be making fudge. We're just going to be making a very simple chocolate fudge. We're going to be using some granulated sugar, a little bit of milk, a little bit of corn syrup. We're going to boil this and we're going to add our butter and our chocolate, a little bit of vanilla and salt. Then we're going to turn this over onto our marble, which is going to cool it off, and then the fudge will be ready to go once we work it a little bit. Super easy to do. You can do this at home so easily. This is going to take a little bit, so let's go ahead and get started. I have my granulated sugar. I'm just adding my milk, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of corn syrup. And please let me know if you have any questions along the way. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a simmer on the stove. And it's going to be coming up to about 230 degrees right before the softball stage. So let's get this incorporated and we'll get it going. So what I'm doing is I'm making half batch here so we can, kind of move along a little bit faster. Okay, let's go ahead and start this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the fudge. And maybe if you guys have made some fudge before, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. Okay, so what you're going to want to do while this is coming to a simmer, you're going to stir it every now and then because you've got milk in here, and those milk solids, they can settle in the bottom, they can start to scorch. So you're going to want to keep an eye on this a little bit closer than you would if you were just doing a sugar and water solution that you're going to kind of want to leave alone. This needs just a little bit of attention. Okay, so this is going to simmer, and like I said, it's going to we're going to simmer this, cook this till it's about 230 degrees, and it's going to start to turn a little bit brown in color. So you'll see the color change a little bit, and that'll kind of alert you. And you can also test this in a little cup of ice water if you don't have a thermometer, but I definitely recommend getting a thermometer. We use it for a lot of different things. Besides making things like fudge, we use it for, our caramelized sugar, and you can also use it to temperature your liquids when you're making yeast spreads to make sure that they don't get too warm. So definitely invest in a thermometer if you don't have one. So like I said, we're going to bring this to a simmer. It's going to take a little while. So I'd like to hear if anyone's made any kind of fudge before, if you have any questions. Once this comes to a simmer, we're going to be adding our chocolate and our butter and our vanilla and a little bit of salt. And then we're going to bring it back to a simmer, and then we're going to be pouring it out on our marble. So for our chocolate, we're going to be using a dark chocolate that's unsweetened because we have so much sugar in here that we don't want to add any more sugar. So we're going to use unsweetened chocolate. We've got room temperature unsalted butter, and I've got it cut up into pieces. You're not going to want to add a real big piece to this, so go ahead and cut this up. Your chocolate too is going to help it blend in a little bit better. And then once that's blended in, just go ahead and add your vanilla and a little bit of salt. So for the vanilla extract, what you can do is you can explore different extracts. You can use chocolate. Since we've got chocolate here, so many things go with chocolate. So what you can do is you can add some peppermint or even some orange. Lemon is nice too. But I recommend the first time that you're making this, go ahead and make your extract. Go ahead and make your fudge with just the vanilla extract. I think that you will like it a lot. And you can also add any type of nut to this. The best time to add the nuts is when you go ahead and put this on the marble. So you can add some pecans, and you can even put some of these pecan pieces on top. They'll look really nice, and pistachios are nice, walnuts, pretty much any kind of a nut that you like. So this is coming to a simmer, so we're going to, keep an eye on it. We're going to watch for some scorching on the bottom. And please let me know if you have any questions, or maybe if you've made fudge before yourself. Okay, so when making this is not a very big amount. Like I said, I'm making half of the batch to kind of get it to, you know, go a little bit faster for us here, so we're not waiting for all of this simmering. But, you know, don't walk away from this. And watch out so you don't have it on too high, because you see I've got a little bit of splashing starting, so I'm going to be turning it down. And this is something that you're just going to want to stay close by when you're doing this. Okay, so back to the flavors of fudge. So what's nice about fudge is, you know, there's a variety of different flavors that you can make. What you can do with this particular recipe for a little bit of a change up on it, I just want to keep a close eye on this. You can add brown sugar in place of the granulated sugar. Keep in mind the acidity could curdle your milk in the beginning. I'm using whole milk. Don't use cream for this. Just go ahead and use the whole milk. So the acidity in the brown sugar could actually curdle the milk a little bit, but it really won't affect the end product. You'll see just a little bit of curdling, but you'll be just fine with that. And you can also make peanut butter fudge. You can substitute, you can eliminate the chocolate in the recipe, and you can use about 25% of that. So in this case, we have the full recipe would be about 5 ounces. So maybe you would make like 1 3/4 ounce with peanut butter. So that would be a nice peanut butter fudge. Okay, so this is starting to thicken a little bit. I see it changing in color a little bit. It's going to start to have a little bit of brownness to it, and then we'll go ahead and temperature it in just a minute. So definitely keep in mind the variations that you can make when making fudge. But like I said, your first time, I do recommend just making a, you know, plain chocolate fudge, just to get a little bit of experience and kind of you know, become familiar with it a little bit. And be careful when you're making this very, very hot. You know, be careful with kids yourself, and of course, you know, kids and animals too. Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to change color a little bit. So I can tell that it's getting a little bit close. So we're going to take a look at the temperature. Like I said, be careful with the simmering, not to let it get, you know, too roaring. Okay, it's coming up fine. We're getting past 200. I'm just going to give it a little stir. I'm using the wooden spoon, which is ideal for making something like this. The handle is not going to warm up on you, and it's going to, you know, go nicely along the bottom to watch for any scorching. Okay, so we're getting there. Kind of you stall like at about 200, but it's moving up slowly. Kind of like seems to stop. So that's another reason that you really want to keep a close eye on this, because it, you know, it seems like it kind of stops, but then it kind of creeps up there too. Okay, we're just about there. We are at about 220, 225. Then we're getting there. Yep, almost there. Then what I'm going to do is turn this off, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Then we're going to put it back on the heat. It's going to come up to 236 this time, and then it'll be done. Then we're going to pour it onto the marble. So as you can see, it went pretty quickly. We were just kind of talking about a few things, but it did rise up there quickly. So we're going to go ahead and add our chocolate. Be careful when you're adding these things in here that you're not splashing. So don't hold it way up high and let it kerplunk in, because it could splash up on you. So just be careful. Keep in mind this is 230 degrees, which is pretty darn hot. Okay, so now it's starting to look fudge-like. The butter is going to add a very nice texture, nice flavor. The chocolate, remember, unsweetened chocolate. If you put sweetened chocolate in here, the balance of the sugar is really going to be turned, it's really going to be changed, and it won't set right if you have too much sugar in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to add our vanilla. Sometimes when you add these liquids, you can get a little bit of bubbling. So be careful when you're adding that. A little bit of salt, and we will be ready to go. And like I said, please let me know if you have any questions, or maybe if you've made fudge before and maybe what some of your experiences are. Okay, so now that we have everything pretty much incorporated, we're going to put it back on the fire. We're going to bring it to a simmer again. And this time we're going to temperature it at 236 degrees, a little bit higher. Okay, so we're just going to kind of let this work on its own a little bit. All right, so in the meantime, I've got my marble here. A little bit of sugar on my board. And you guys are a little quiet. Does anyone have any questions? And maybe what are some of your experiences with making fudge? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so I'll do the talking then. Okay, so I've got my marble. And this is what we're going to use to cool down the fudge. Oh, it really smells good. I mean, it really smells like fudge a lot. Okay. So keep in mind, this was quite hot when we added the other ingredients. So it could go up quickly, it could go up slowly. It kind of just works on its own a little bit. Let's get our thermometer in here and take a look at this, and we're going to keep an eye on it too.
Chef, what's the brand of your thermometer that you have?
And what's the what?
What's the brand?
It's called Taylor. Turn it, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a basic thermometer. Some of these, they'll usually have a clip on the side. This one doesn't have one, unless it, I don't think it's down there. No. There's usually a clip that slides along here. I mean, maybe there was one at one time and it broke off, and it's working out okay for me. I like to use my digital thermometer too, but I thought I would use this one today because I'm typically using that one just for something a little bit different. Okay, so we are already up to like 222. So keep in mind, we've got the additions in here too, the chocolate and the butter, and that can cause scorching as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this real closely with your wooden spoon. Be careful, it's hot. I recommend a small batch, maybe even a half batch like this your first time, rather than going with the full recipe that I'm going to give you. Okay, so we're climbing. We're at like 228. We're getting to 230, and we'll be at 236 before we know it. And I have to tell you guys, this smells so good. I ate a bunch of this last night. I have to admit, I just couldn't help it because I was smelling it. It smells like hot chocolate plus plus plus. Okay, so we are at like 223. And we're just about at 226 here. So I'm going to pull this out. Keep in mind that the mixture on your thermometer, you know, it's going to be hot too. So put it someplace safe, and be careful not to touch that. Okay, so nextly we're going to be pouring this out onto our marble board.
Do you have to use a marble board, or is there something else that you can use?
If you don't have one, you can let the mixture partially cool in the pot. But let's get this on here, and then we'll talk about cooling this, okay? Is it's got to kind of sit on the board, which you can feel it's nice and cool. So I kind of like to let some of, you know, I let it stop bubbling a bit before I put it on here. Okay, so we've got our mixture on our marble, and what you're going to want to do is try not to put too much on here. So this is a half batch. It works just fine for this size. I did make a full batch on here yesterday, but you got to be careful if it starts getting a little, over here towards the end. You just want to kind of push it back a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave this cool a little bit, and then we're just going to just start mixing it, working this a little bit. And see how it's very shiny here? What you're going to want to do is you're just going to mix it until it some of that shine is gone. So we're really just cooling this. And if you don't have a marble, you can always use a sheet pan and just leave the mixture cool in the pot for a little while first. And then what you can do is you can put it on your sheet pan and just kind of fold in the corners of it and kind of work it until some of that shine is gone. But what's nice about using the marble is it cools faster. And if your kitchen's really warm, what you can do is you can even cool your marble with a little bit of ice. But you have to be careful with that because it could cool too quickly. So, like I said, we're just going to be, scraping this. This is a little sticky. So, just take your time. Be careful. It's still very hot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it on our pan. And we're just going to leave it cool, maybe for about 4 or 5 hours, or maybe even overnight. So it's going to kind of take on its own shape here a little bit soon. And some of this liquidness is going to be gone. This is still pretty hot. And like I said, it's going to go towards your edges. You have to be careful too. If you just put this on your board and leave it cool, it usually cools to about 110 degrees before you start working it. But if your board is a little bit cool, you're going to want to start mixing it a little bit sooner like I did here. But the fudge is looking good. It's starting to cool a little bit. You can see that it's holding its shape a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put on a glove in case I need it for patting this down. So it's losing a little bit of its luster as it cools. And you want to turn it into your pan when it's still pliable. You don't want it to get too cool. So we're kind of getting about that time. And just you're just going to turn this into a pan that you have foil in it like I have in this one. And this is just a small amount. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put this on one end. And then we'll just kind of, finish off the end with our scraper here. But the full recipe will make about a 9 by 9 square pan, just so you know. And like I said earlier, this is half recipe that I'm making because I thought that it would be better for the session because it takes a while to bring this to 230 degrees. Okay, so we're looking good. Like I said, we're just going to leave this cool off a little bit more. Still pretty sticky. And it's getting a little warm in here, so it's going to, take a little bit longer. But I'd rather have it a little too sticky than a little too dry. Oh. And please let me know if you have any questions. And even after the session, you can message me with any questions as well. Okay, so we're getting thicker. And we're losing more and more of that shine. So you can see it's holding its shape a little bit more. And this is just about the time that it's going to go in the pan. We don't want it to get too dry. You can see the dullness starting. Once that dullness starts, that's when you know that it's almost done. You don't want to let it get too cool. So what we're going to do So we're going to run it into the pan here in just a minute. Okay, so our fudge looks great. Okay, so it's still pliable, as you can see. Let's go ahead and move this over. We'll bring it up here. You kind of got to work quickly with this a little bit. You can see it's setting up already. And if you don't have a glove, or if you don't want to wear a glove, you can put a little bit of butter on your hands. And this is our fudge. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave this set up a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it, okay? Okay, so now that our fudge has had a chance to firm up, it usually takes about maybe 4 to 5 hours. You can even leave this sit overnight. And it's cutting nicely. Okay, so we're just going to be cutting some squares with our fudge. And then we're going to go ahead and put it on a plate, and then we're going to say our goodbyes. So please be sure to let me know if you have any questions on anything. We've got a couple of pieces here. And thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be seeing you next time. And definitely have some fun with your fudge, and let me know if you have any questions and how you're doing. Thank you, and have a great the rest of the day. Bye.